Sneak peek of spring, maybe?
So we had a big event happen yesterday in the stratosphere, and I got the opportunity to talk to Dr. Simon Lee again. I've had him on the show a couple of times talking about the polar vortex because it is about the polar vortex. Here's a little snippet of our interview. All right, folks, so we have Dr. Simon Lee with us, and if you remember, we've had him on the show before talking about the stratosphere, polar vortex, and how it's going to impact our weather if that's the case. We talked to him earlier in the winter, and there were some implications that we were going to have some sort of a stratospheric polar vortex reversal of the winds that was going to trigger some cold weather, potentially late January. And indeed, we had that cold spell during the middle of January during Martin Luther King week, where we had about a foot of snow in southern West Virginia and parts of the mid-Atlantic, finally had busted through the snow drought. And now, here we are, March 4th, and today is Stratospheric Warming Day. We have a reversal of the winds, stratospheric polar vortex in early March, and Dr. Lee is here to talk through some of the information. And now this one would likely qualify as a fairly significant reversal of the winds, correct?
Yeah, so we've had a few little reversals of the winds during this winter so far. Only very weak easterly winds up in the stratosphere, but this one, which has just taken place today, it does look like the winds will reverse to at least around kind of the average strength that we typically see during a sudden stratospheric warming, if not slightly stronger than average, and certainly for a longer period of time than some of these more minor disruptions that we've seen so far this winter.
There's no indication right now that this very significant warming event today would, at this point, impact the high latitudes and contribute to high latitude blocking at this point, correct?
Yeah, certainly within the next couple of weeks, which is what's shown in that forecast there isn't an indication of a strong and immediate coupling.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that there is the northern annular mode is, at least in that forecast, very strongly negative in the lower stratosphere, around 100 hectopascals or so, just above the troposphere. And that's what you would want in order for a sudden warming to influence the surface. You can kind of see how in some of those previous warmings.
So there's a lot of talk there. Basically, there was a stratospheric warming event, and they usually are followed by a cold blast of air into parts of North America and Europe. But as he said here, it's not going to happen immediately, but it looks like it'll happen a little bit later in the month. Now, if you want to see the full podcast of what we talked about, a lot of weather geek terms, but it's really cool. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to our website and see the 35-minute interview I have with him, because we talked about a lot, and it's there to see.
All right, well, I'm sure Kayla and I are super duper excited. You guys are too. Now we have more weather news and sports coming your way after the break.